Hello, I hope you've had a good week and that you are all well. Unfortunately, I'm not well. I have COVID. It finally got me. I suppose it was inevitable, especially as Ray has COVID as well. I'm not feeling too bad. It really is like having a cold and a cough. But my brain's all over the place, so I don't know how successful this floss tube is going to be, but I have got a lot to talk about if I can, and a lot to show you. Not as much as I had intended. Okay, so this week, although I've got COVID, it has been a good week. I've had a finish. I finally finished excuse me, a present for a friend. I love this sampler so much. It's so quirky, so different. I can't wait to get this to the framers and have her framed on my sampler wall. I can't go to the framers this week, so it's going to have to wait. I'm thinking a really dark frame and nothing too big, nothing to overpower this sampler, because this sampler is very simplistic. It really is like a child's stick drawing. It's, you know, it's very, very endearing, this sampler. I just feel that even though the little needleworker didn't put her name on the sampler, I really feel I've got to know her well. You know, charting the sampler, you know, going through her stitch by stitch, you know, getting a graph together was an insight into this little girl's mind and lack of concentration. And then going back through stitching every single stitch. I think one of the oddest things the little girl did was where's it gone? This motif, she stitched a bird on top of this lozenge, but on this side she stitched half a bird and just stuck another bird on top of it. Just crazy, but sort of endearingly crazy. The original sampler I'm going to give as a present to a friend, and I hope to get that little sampler off as soon as I feel able. Yesterday I tried to do some packing and my legs just went like jelly and my temperature soared. I just couldn't do it. I have been absolutely useless, but because I couldn't work yesterday, it did mean that I sat down, and of course, even if I'm ill, I can't sit and do nothing. So I stitched. So I've had a new start. I started this sampler on Friday and my needle has actually flown. This is a lovely sampler. It's continental. I've just started to introduce a second colour, and once I get past this row, there's going to be lots of colour. There's 3 more sections down each side of border patterns, and some really beautiful border patterns. All of a sudden in this section it goes whoosh and it really takes out, or sorry, not takes out, what am I on about? Takes over. I'm stitching this on Tabby Cat linen cat's whiskers, which is actually the same as a present for a friend. It's a really beautiful neutral colour that sort of highlights the sampler so beautifully. Now, the 2 colours I've used in this sampler at the moment is this beautiful peacock blue. This is so intense and rich, and you know, that's one of the things about Au Ver Soir, the quality of the silk and the dyes that they use give you these beautiful intense bursts of colour. This is the sort of mellow turquoise that's starting to appear in the sampler. I can't wait to get some of the other colours in, and this sampler just bursts into life. The peacock blue in the top really sort of complements or enables this bottom section just to go whoosh. Really lovely. The stitcher's name is Emily, Emilie, Kalmar. Now, I was talking to a friend about the name of Kalmar, and we found out that there is a town or a city or a village in Sweden by the name of Kalmar. I don't know if the sampler is from Sweden. There's a lot more research to be done, but it is definitely a continental sampler. I had intended in this floss tube to show you some of the things I brought back from my visit to the attic, but I just haven't got the strength to get everything out. But what I had put out in the week, when it came, I thought, oh, I've got to share that in my floss tube. So I actually put it out by the side of this chair, is this beautiful spool holder, and it really is absolutely stunning. A friend of mine bought one of these and showed me, and immediately, as I was talking to her, I went and bought one. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? These spools are secured by these pins. You pull the pins out. Hold on a second. You pull the pins out and the spools come out. And what I need to do now is come up with some designs to, 3 designs that relate to each other that I can display on this spool stand. I just thought it was absolutely fabulous. Now, this spool stand is amazing quality, and this quality is in everything that this lady does. I'm starting to build up a really lovely collection of this lady's work, and she sells on Etsy, and her name is Danielle, and the store is Danielle Craft Shop, all one word, on Etsy, and everything on there is just delightful. I have a really long shopping list which I am gradually getting bit by bit. I did have something else that came, but I'll show you that next week. Talking of spools, in the week a beautiful box of goodies came from a needleworker. I never cease to be amazed by the generosity of needleworkers. In the box there were 2 spools, 2 vintage spools. Here they are, they're beautiful. These are spools that would have been used in the cotton, in the textile industry, and it's wonderful that we can recycle, repurpose, upcycle these into something that we can use for needlework today. Now, I've been looking for some time for a way to display my chunkier scissors, and these spools are absolutely ideal for doing that. I also love how these spools are, such a difference in height. When you are creating a display, it's nice to have the differences in heights and shapes, and it adds interest. And that's one of the things about your sampler wall. With your sampler wall, if you have everything regimented and all the same size and all the same frames, it doesn't interest the eye the same. If you have different sizes, different shapes, different orientations, different levels, your eye is drawn in and your eye is looking around. And it's the same with displays on sideboards and shelves. So this is wonderful. This is, I've put those already by my sewing chair on the display of on my shelf with all my scissors, and it really does add some lovely interest. I'm waffling. This is COVID brain speaking. Included in the parcel was this beautiful needle minder with a bee on. Now, I love to collect needle minders, and I love to collect anything with bees on, because bees are our logo for Hands Across the Sea samplers, because we are all really busy bees. So that was very, very thoughtful and a lovely addition to my bee collection and my needleminder collection. Then the other thing that was enclosed was this beautiful, sorry, I'm running out of breath, beautiful scissor fob. There's a lovely owl charm, a wise old bird. And hats is all about learning as well, so that was very apt for me. And then there is another bee charm, a beautiful fat bee, and this little charm really feels lovely in the hand. And then there's this beautiful locket with the tree of life on, and the locket actually opens as well and has this lovely semi-precious stone in. I just think that's so adorable. One of my favourite all-time designers, not sampler designers, clothes designers. One of the things about her designs, especially in her handbags, is all about having secret pockets, secret zipped pockets or flat pockets, because she used to like to have somewhere to hide her love letters. And one of the things I love are little secret compartments, or just little compartments that you can pop things in. And that's one of the things about the Monsieur Roulet scissors in their little wooden boxes, that you just slide the lid. I just love things like that. So this was just, all the little things on there mean something to me. I've put this on a pair of Monsieur Roulet scissors, and they're lovely, so thank you. Now, I felt very lucky when I opened the box and there was all those goodies in there. But the thing that touched me the most was the card and the words that were written inside the card. I felt very emotional when I read these words, and they really do mean a lot to me. So thank you so much to the needleworker that sent this to me. I will treasure everything, and I will treasure this card. It will go into my special chest of memories, special things. Let me just think. Right, okay. I'm really going to try and get some questions and answers done today for you. I've been promising this for weeks. Had an email from somebody who says that they've been working on Harriet Salt for the past 18 months. And while she's been stitching, she's been wondering how long the girls took in the orphanage to complete their samplers. Well, we don't really know, but Harriet Salt does give us an indication. Now, Harriet stitched 2 samplers. She stitched her red sampler, which she finished in 1866, and she stitched a second coloured sampler, which she finished in 1868. So we know that her second sampler took her 2 years. Now her second sampler, she stitched when she was 16, 17, so she was more mature. So we could expect her to stitch at a slightly faster pace. And also there wasn't as many stitches in that sampler. So we can expect her Bristol sampler to have taken her at least 2 years, possibly 3 or even slightly longer. So the next part of the question was, with schoolwork and chores, I wonder how many hours per day were allotted for needlework. Well, we don't know how much time they spent on their red samplers, but we do know that part of their school day, that a lot of hours were spent to working with their needles. And that wasn't just with sewing needles. They worked with their knitting needles as well. The girls did a lot of knitting during their school day, and they did a lot of sewing. And when I say sewing, I don't mean stitching. The girls worked on repairing their clothes, repairing the boys' clothes. They worked on doing a lot of sewing, making clothes, making items as well, and those would have been items that they sold to earn pocket money, and part of that money was banked for them so that they had a fund when they left the orphanage. We know that they spent some time on their samplers during the day, but I personally believe that the girls also spent time out of their school day working on their samplers as well. I think that the school mistresses spent time during their lessons teaching them how to do their samplers, but I also think that they probably worked in their own time under the guidance of older schoolgirls as well. Gosh, I probably shouldn't be answering such a complex question whilst I've got COVID brain, but I hope I'm making sense. The needleworker goes on to say that she really enjoyed Flosstube 267, where I showed all 5 of the hats Bristol samplers together. And that's probably the only time that we will be able to show them, because not all the samplers were models I stitched, and they have, 3 of those samplers have to go back to the model stitchers. They are a fabulous group of samplers, as the person says, but do you know what? We actually have a 6th Bristol sampler in production, and this one is, the 6th one is the only known one of its kind, and I am so excited that we managed to get this sampler for our portfolio and to share with you. I showed the sampler at the Bristol 2 at the Attic in June, and we hope to release that sampler for Bristol 3 at the Attic next year. Okay, so thank you to the lady who asked this question. It was a very good question. We also had somebody else. I'm so sorry about that. That was a massive coughing attack. This is going to be the last thing I answer, because I'm actually starting to get a bit lightheaded through through not having good oxygen levels in my bloodstream. Okay, last question, and it relates to Bristol samplers as well, and it's asking about the motif that has a crown in the centre and what the meaning of the crown is. Well, the crown is in this beautiful cartouche, and the cartouche has VR, Victoria Regina. And basically the crown represents the monarchy, Queen Victoria. And, we also have the 3 feathers, which represents the Prince of Wales. So this is Queen Victoria and the Prince of Wales, Edward, her son, who became Edward VII. The Victorians, they were monarchists. They had great respect for royalty and the crown. They were very proud of the empire. So, the girls were taught to respect Victoria, to look up to the crown. So, the crown and the Prince of Wales feathers would have been a very popular motif for the girls to stitch. Okay, do you know what? I had a lovely list of questions to answer. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get round to, but I am out of puff. So I hope next week to be back firing on all cylinders. Do you know, in the mornings, I love listening to music as I'm getting ready, and I love to have a little jig as I'm drying my hair. And do you know what? Even Jackie Wilson and Reet Petite this morning could not get me going. Okay, stay safe, stay well, don't get COVID. Until next week, bye-bye.